So, they have beaten you, huh? Your quest is over? What if it's only beginning?
Uncharted 2 is an action-adventure game in sort of the classic style, but set with the contemporary characters in a contemporary world. And so we've tried to make it more relevant make this genre relevant for today's gamers and people that love this, these kind of stories. And it centers on our main character, Nathan Drake, who's a modern-day fortune hunter, who in our parlance really is much more of kind of a modern-day criminal, because what's a treasure hunter in the modern-day world? It's pretty much not a very honorable profession, and so he's sort of surrounded by this sort of fraternity of thieves, essentially, and this is why the subtitle is Among Thieves, and we see how these relationships complicate his life as he sort of goes off in search of these treasures. But it's a sequel for people that are fans of the series. It's a sequel in the sense that we've grown the characters and we take them to a new place. In the last game, we kind of got to see Nate. We got introduced to Nate in a kind of a very limited way, and we got to sort of see him kind of immediately thrust into the role of the hero. In this game, we sort of wind back and see, well, who is he, when he's just in his everyday world, and who does he interact with, and what sort of characters does he interact with, and what does he really do? What does a treasure hunter really do? And it gives us a chance to surround it with a much more varied cast of characters that all kind of reflect different aspects of his personality and sort of challenge him in different ways. So we see a kind of a growth arc in him as well as the other characters around him. We want to capture that wonderful cinematic experience that we all love so much from all these action-adventure movies that are just everybody's favorites, We always call it sort of like the comfort food of the movie genre, everybody loves these films. And break down the elements that make that up. When you're racing through a collapsing building, it's you racing through a collapsing building, When you're on a moving train to try to rescue somebody, you're on that moving train, you're not watching a cutscene. And so that meant a huge revamp of our technology to make sure all those things are possible. And getting the emotional moments in the game as opposed to just in the cutscenes, and making you feel the gameplay. Because it's like when you're playing, you can make them feel something in their gut, viscerally, like there could be something that's very dramatic in that sense, but to make them feel something in their heart and their head, I know I'm just sounding very highfalutin, but you know what I mean? If they care about the characters and why they're doing what they're doing, and there's some concern there, that's so much better than just the visceral impact of what you're doing. And I think this game does that way better even than the last game.
Trust me, young man, your ego will mend. You're just lucky to be alive.
Yeah, people are always telling me how lucky I am. But the truth is, everything I touch turns to shit.
Nate.
No, Elena, I'm done.
And one of the great things about the multiplayer and the co-op is it gives us a great opportunities to expand the game experience for players with downloadable content, unlockables, things like that, which of course you don't really do with a single-player game that much. We tried to pack a lot of value into the first game in terms of unlockables, but with that online component, the game can kind of keep growing, especially based on players' feedback too. It's not really an overarching story. We wanted people to just be able to jump in, have like a 20, 30-minute experience or whatever with their friends where they could just go in and play like a mini quest. It has nothing to do with the main single-player story, although some of the environments will be familiar to people. The characters, of course, are familiar to people. But it's got its own little standalone objective, and they're not like, heavy duty. It's just kind of like, hey, we got to go get that treasure. We got to go sabotage the bad guys, that kind of thing. And to have a beta like this, as opposed to just, say, a demo that goes out towards the end of a project cycle, the feedback that we got from the players not only benefits our ability to make the multiplayer experience even better, it feeds back into the single-player experience in terms of the mechanics and what people like and what they didn't. And so it just makes the project that much stronger. And it's great to get that affirmation as you're working on something, you get very close to it, but to get affirmation partway through that you're on the right track. It seemed like we really got people into it, and people just love it, and they miss it right now, and that's so gratifying. What's our favorite thing about the game? And I'm going to give you what could seem like a lame answer, but it's the honest answer, which is it's everything. And it's the fact that all the parts, that's more than some of its parts, and the way they all come together, whether it's the work that the animators did, the background artists, the programmers, the actors, the way the things all sort of fold together to create that seamless, immersive experience is what I love about it. It's just so cool to see that every 150 people collectively could have worked on faith like that to achieve this result. It just makes me so proud of everybody. What's gratifying for me is that people really love the characters. That's not easy to do in a video game either. And the fact that people sit, and we heard on the first game they'd sit and play in one sitting, and they'd play with their family so they could watch and know. I mean, how cool is that, the phrase "Dude Raider." So do we still get that, and how do we react when we hear that? I think we proved with Uncharted 1 that it was an inappropriate sort of epithet for the game. It's so much more than that, and we have always sort of deliberately set out to make Uncharted its own experience. It's very action driven. There's an authority now, I think, to the Uncharted franchise, so I think we can beat that name, the Dude Raider name. If whenever you're working on a game, there's always a million things that you want to do better, different, and you just know that you just have to do the best job you can in the time you have, and hopefully if it does well and you get to make a sequel, you get to go back to that well and optimize and add all the little things that you missed the first time. You can expect to pick up Uncharted 2 in the US on October 13th. We just announced the date today.
Is there going to be another strange artifact hidden in the game?
Oh, another strange artifact. Maybe I'll leave that one for the players to discover.